52, I'll say most tough.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And she wouldn't even cook me dinner tonight. I had to take her out.
There you go.
As well you should.
Absolutely true.
Thank you.
Absolutely true.
Another minute or so, and then we'll get started.
Sounds good.
See who hasn't said hi yet. Rich, see you there, and Brian, and John. Welcome aboard. And Bob.
Hey, good evening, Jeremy. Everybody else?
Hey, Rich.
Hey, Rich. Thanks for coming.
Yeah. Yeah, but see what I can learn here. Make my All-Star node better.
Yeah, I'm hoping to learn a little bit about AllStar too, because my knowledge so far is limited to that's what the WAN uses. That's about it.
Mhm.
Yeah, the impression I got is that there's a lot more that you have to do on the back end to get an AllStar link running compared to, say, a DMR hotspot, because you can pretty much just buy those off the shelf with a little bit of configuration. But with AllStar, it seemed like there's a little bit more work involved. So that's why I'm looking forward to this tonight.
Yeah, me too. I stumbled through it last year. Mine's working. And, I could log into it from anywhere and connect to anywhere. So I got that much going for me.
All right. Maybe we'll get started here. All right, so I want to welcome everyone to the March 2022 meeting of the Mid-Atlantic Amateur Radio Club. So welcome to everyone joining us on Zoom, and a welcome to everyone on YouTube, including those who will watch this later on. I'm Jeremy Carlo, N2ZLQ, MARC President. So as is customary, we'll go around with a round of introductions. So let's start. Any call signs whose final character is Alpha through Foxtrot? You can check in now.
W3, JNF, Jim.
K3F, ZT, Steve.
W3 BUD, John.
WA3ADI, Vince.
How about golf through Mike?
KC3ACL, Ron.
KC3L ACM, Jared.
And Lou WX3I.
AA3BK, Brian.
All right, and open it up to anyone else who wants to check in.
AA3RC, Rich.
Hello, my name's Austin, not licensed yet, just interested in learning more.
Yeah, Austin emailed me a little while back, so he's interested in eventually becoming a ham. So the correct answer is not licensed yet. Hopefully we'll change that fairly soon. Okay, so let's see, to get us started, we'll be continuing with online meetings a little bit longer. I was in contact with Paoli Hospital earlier in the month, and they're still not quite ready to open up their meeting rooms. I think they're still dealing with the tail end of the Omicron surge. So we're hoping that that'll change in the near future, but for now we'll continue with the online meetings. And actually it seemed in the last meeting that there was some interest in potentially continuing the online meetings for a longer period of time, because it does make it easier for people to join us from outside of our area. It also makes it easier for us to bring in some speakers from outside our area. And obviously we have a lot of great local speakers, but we were able to bring in some national level speakers as well. So maybe there'll be a discussion to be had about whether we want to continue doing that. So something to think about, I think, as the spring turns into the summer, and we'll decide what we want to do in the longer range. But for at least the next couple of months, we'll be continuing with the Zoom meetings. probably through about the summer, and then we'll decide what to do from there. So let's move on down the committee reports. So treasurer, Lou.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. We currently have $17,710 in the bank. All bills have been paid, as far as I know. If anyone has a bill to be paid, let me know. And we currently have 73 members on the books.
Great, thanks.
That's a good ham radio number, isn't it? It's just
Yeah.
88 would be better, right?
All right, thanks. So let's see, how about technical services and repeaters?
Oh, boy. We had 2 visits. Jeremy and I went to Paoli Hospital about a week and a half ago to install a new DR1X Yaser repeater on 445/675. We also took a look at the link. We got the link running again. So basically the 147.06, 145.13, 445/675 is all up and operational. The link audio sounds a lot better on 2 meters anyway. I don't know what's going on 440, but it is working. We'll have more to say about the 440 possibly as I check out some other features. But anyway, that whole system has now been restored. No sign of any aberrant behavior on 06, or if it is, it comes and goes extremely quickly. So we'll let that go. Then about a week later, no, actually about 4 days later, I went down to Darby, which is always a thrill. Way down in my old stomping grounds in Yaden. And I had help from AC3 AM, Dave, who helped me do some further work at the Darby repeater. So the Bridgecom 147.36 repeater is installed. A DR1X repeater, which used to be on 2 meters, is now on 444.050. And that's a long time coming because that repeater's been off the air for a very long time. But it is running. And then in the course of trying to hook up an SCOM controller, it really acted very funny. It didn't work. So I'm still trying to figure that out. I haven't got back to it. So the repeaters in Darby are running on their internal controllers and separated, which means that just as we had before with the Yaser repeater, 147.36 has a very short squelch tail and no courtesy tone and just a CWID, but it's performing very well. The 444.050 is also separated, but it's performing well also. And I should point out for those of us who have Yaesu Fusion repeaters, both 050 in Darby and 675 in Paoli are running an AMS mode, which means that you can take them out of FM only and put them in digital if you want to listen what your digital signal look like. In fact, from Darby, I ran the 050 repeater as a test in digital all the way back to Newtown Square, so it's performing very well. As a side note, Jeremy was alluding to it, that SCOM, our controller company, has decided to stop producing the 7330. There was quite a whale of concern from the amateur radio community. They chalk it up to non-availability of components. I've worked on in consulting work with companies that ran into components going out of vogue. You know, they basically aren't being made anymore. And you do a workaround. You do something else that will sort of like plug in and play the same. But I'm not going to go there. It's their company. They have no replacement. They claim they're working on a replacement. I only told them if they had any spares, we'd be happy to buy one as a spare, but they didn't say anything. So right now, I have to do something because that would be the controller going in at Darby. The backup plan may be to decommission the 7330 from K3TU, put that at Darby, and then we'll talk about what could happen from there because we can't buy anymore. That's the problem. But other than that, everything is about normal at this point. But at least the flagship system is back, and the link sounds very good. I was just flipping back and forth across the room there on their FL Digi modes, and it sounds exactly the same on the 2 repeaters. So they should be having a lot of fun. That's my report, and I'll stand right by it. Are there any questions? Any questions? Okay.
All right, thanks, Dennis. Yeah, it's really great having our linked network back up again. The nets were getting a little hairy for a while because we were bouncing back and forth between a couple of unlinked machines. But it's nice that we have them all back up. And yeah, certainly the VHF link audio is a lot better than it was before. I know we had a lot of complaints in the past about the link audio being low, and that seems to be quite good right now. So the UHF is a little bit of an issue. I said the UHF audio is good. It's just a little bit muffled. So it's good enough for voice communications, but you can tell the difference. And glad that Darby is back up. At least 2/3 of it is back up and running. So yeah, this is really great progress. I know we've been backed up a little because of COVID in terms of access to the repeater sites. So now we're getting things back up and running. All right, thanks, Dennis. Let's see, next up, how about public service? Bob.
Okay, well, we've got, let's see, we've got a couple of public service events coming up and a couple things have changed. We're still, I'm still trying to get in touch with people from the Penguin 5K race. I've put in a request for, a contact on the Run Sign Up website, but I have not heard back. That event is scheduled for June the 12th. Typically, it was one of our first events in the spring, so it's now moved to June. So I don't know if that's really gonna still not quite sure if that's gonna work out or not. We had two other events, the MS Walk in Phoenixville and the MS Walk in East Goshen. They have been combined according to MS, and I guess, we can then pick another event, which I guess the Marple Newtown Club does the what the MS calls the Media Walk, which is actually in Ridley Creek State Park. I was thinking of getting in touch with that group and seeing if we could tag along and be a reinforcement for them. That event takes place on April 23rd. So we'll have to see about that date also. And we have the April, yeah. And also the French Creek Triathlon takes place on May 21st. And I tried to reach out to the Berks County Emergency Coordinator, N3YMX, Ron Angstadt, I guess his name is. And so I've got an email off to him, and haven't heard back from him yet. But we're going to try to get Berks County Aries group to kind of head that one up, I think. And hopefully that we will anyway. Because maybe they could send more help out than we can, I think. And of course, Monday, May the 30th, that's the Radnor Memorial Day Parade. And we're pretty much all in line for that one. And so that's basically right now we're kind of in between. Still trying to find out a lot of information and stuff. I kind of wish that things were a little more sure. But if anybody is interested in signing up for any of these events, you can start signing up for the Penguin event, the French Creek event, and the Radnor Parade, and we'll have more information on the MS Walk as time goes on. So if anybody is interested in any of those events, just let me know and we'll get you on the list. So as far as public service, I guess that's pretty much it.
All right. Thanks, Bob. Any questions on public service? All right, so all we got you on the hot seat, Hamfest.
Well, unfortunately, I haven't heard from Kimberton Fire Company yet, so I will probably this weekend or certainly by next weekend get in touch with them. We really need to get that date nailed down, and get that stuff rolling. It was also, I think at one time I brought up the fact that we were considering possibly doing something with the maker movement, the maker fair. And so I'm kind of learning a little bit more about makers and what they do. There's a website called Hackaday, and the actual name Maker Fair, spelled FAIRE, is actually a registered trademark, and to run a Maker Fair, you have to get a license. So I'm going to find out how much the license costs and all the other details on that. So I don't know if that's actually going to turn out to be something we can do this year. It sounds like it might be a little more involved, and we might not want to bite all that off right now. But anyway, that's kind of where the Hamfest is. We're just kind of waiting for that date, and then hopefully we can really get things rolling here.
Right. Yeah, as soon as you know what the date is, let me know, because then I'll reach out to ARRL. I think we want to get in with them fairly soon.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks. So it seems like things are proceeding a little bit slowly, but we're certainly ahead of where we were last year. Certainly. I think that's where we want to be. All right. So thanks, Bob. Any other questions for Bob? All right. How about field day? Jim, did you want to say anything?
Absolutely. I got with Lou the other day, and he was gracious enough to get our reservation confirmed. So we are locked into the field. So we're good to go. Other than that, it's a little premature for anything else unless anybody has any questions. The main thing was to get the site locked in, which Lou took care of.
We have the classroom reserved as well. So
classroom also, I forgot to mention that. Yes, we are good to go with classroom and the field. So we can do the scouts this year, hopefully.
Yeah, so I'll get started on that. Usually around May is when we start the real planning for that.
Well, let me know as soon as everything are clear so I can update the website and doesn't say canceled for whatever, and stuff like that. Let me know when you feel it's ready to go, especially the scout information too.
Okay, yeah, we'll definitely do that. All right, how about breakfast? We can talk about that. So I think, Jim, you were at the breakfast, right? Unfortunately, we had the weather, which cut down the attendance.
Yeah, the breakfast was John and I, who John is on, W3BUD. We had a good breakfast. We had great conversation. We could have used more attendees, but the weather, it was kind of a bad day for weather. So, but it's back on, and they were very gracious. We had our normal table in the back. So next month, hopefully we'll get some more people out there.
Great, sounds good. Yeah, next breakfast will be April 9th, just looking at the calendar now. So hopefully we won't get a nasty ice storm by then.
Right.
That was a little crazy that morning. All right, so that's breakfast. So it's fun that we're having those back. We do have a VE test session coming up on May 7th. So if you have any questions about that, contact Dick Stewart, K3ITH. I think it's K3ITH at ARRL.net. He has all the information about that. Nets. Herb was on here a few minutes ago, but he had to leave to get to a flight heading home. So the nets are going strong Wednesdays and Sundays, 8:30 p.m. We're back on the linked repeater system. So you can check in either on 06 or 13 or now 445.675. So they're usually fun. We usually get about a dozen or so check-ins, and it's a nice conversational net. All of our net controllers run it a little bit differently. Usually there's some trivia or a topic of the night. Some of them do this day in history. So it's usually a fun experience. All right. Any other committee reports before we head on to programs? All right, so programs. I wanted to start with next month. We're going to have Steve, K3FZT. He's going to be telling us about WinLink. So Steve, you want to give us a little preview of your talk?
WinLink is email over amateur radio. And I'll touch a little bit on the history and how it's been used today. It's increasing in importance because both the ARRL and the American Red Cross have said quite clearly that WinLink communication will be the preferred means for exchanging information in the case of emergencies. That means ahead of phone nets, CW nets, classic radiograms, and so forth. Although radiograms can be exchanged digitally over WinLink. So I will also take a few minutes to tell you about standing up my own VHF WinLink gateway about 100 yards up from my house. So coming in April.
All right. Thanks, Steve. Looking forward to that. All right. So tonight's presentation is one that I'm also looking forward to. We have our very own Vince, WA3ADI, and he's going to tell us about AllStar linking. So AllStar is the backbone of the WAN repeater system, which many of us use, but there's a whole lot more that you can do with it. So Vince, please take it away.
Okay, thanks a lot, Jeremy, and good evening, everybody. I just thought I'd give you a little background about my operating over the years. I was first licensed in 1967 after attending a radio course at the Franklin Institute, which was sponsored by the Philmont Mobile Radio Club at the time. I spent a lot of my early years on 6 meter AM and CW. And I was a member of the Arctics Amateur Radio Club in Upper Darby, if you remember that. Then in the 70s and 80s, I was active on several repeaters. I upgraded to advanced in the early 80s and joined the Delaware County Amateur Radio Association and MARC and Philmont and Marple Newtown, which I still belong to those clubs. In the late 80s, I began working a lot of HF activity, and I had WAS on all continent, WAC, DXCC, and became certified in ARES and RACES by the ARRL. Recently, I set up AllStar nodes, EchoLink, an EchoLink node, an IRLP node back in 2002. And I also operate D-Star Fusion and DMR. I'm also a member of the Philadelphia Digital Radio Association and a member of the Quarter Century Wireless Association. I just received my 55-year certificate from them. So just to give you a little overview of what I'd like to talk about tonight, describe what AllStar is, how to set up AllStar, options for getting on AllStar, other features of AllStar, some additional reasons to set up AllStar. And I have some sample AllStar setups that I can show you. It'd be easier to do in person, but I'll give them my best shot here. And then links and hubs relating to AllStar. So I know that a couple of people here have AllStar nodes. I know Steve, for instance, and Rich have. Does anybody else have a AllStar node besides Steve or Rich?
Nope.
No, I guess not. Okay. Let's see. We're basically going to go over some of the basics about AllStar. And if you have any questions as I go through, please feel free to ask. And then we'll finally have the show and tell afterwards. AllStar is basically an analog voice over IP technology, a linking technology that I got started with in 2015. I had just retired and I heard about AllStar and wanted to find out more about it. I've been enjoying it ever since. It's an internet linking technology that's similar to IRLP and Echolink, but with a few differences. The main difference is its superior audio quality over the other networks. My experience with IRLP, which I have been involved in since 2002, was a good one. And I spent a lot of time on the East Coast reflector, which I'll talk more about later. That's a linked network that links all technologies together. And they've come a long way from IRLP. They've cut pretty much every other mode linked in there now that you can join in. In fact, tonight they have, every Tuesday night, they have a tech net. You can hear it on various modes and devices. Okay, there's two flavors of AllStar, and the first one is called AllStar Link. That was the original one. And the new one is called Ham VoIP, which is the one I'm most familiar with and what I use. AllStar Link was created by Jim Dixon, who recently became a silent key. And it's an open source program. The Ham VoIP version was developed by Dave McGuff, KB4FXC, with some assistance from Doug Crompton, WA3DSP. There's a local ham from Richboro. The Ham VoIP version has significantly more users because of the improvements that it has over the AllStar Link version. And there are currently over 6,500 active registered nodes around the world, and a total of about 23,000 nodes if you factor in all the nodes that there are. One thing that you could do first after you have your equipment together is to register with the allstarlink.org group for a node number. And I'm going to share my screen and show you what that website looks like. This is the AllStar Link support website. And you would go in here and sign up under sign up. And then you get a user ID and password and be able to log in. And after you do that, we'll log in. I'll show you what's here. There's a portal. That wasn't there before. Now it's here. Okay, and then you have node settings and server settings. And these are my AllStar nodes that I have, these 5 nodes. The first one is my main node that I use, and I'll show you that later. The second one is a portable node that a friend of mine put together. The next one is a yellow box node that you probably have heard about. The next one, the 5th one, is a radioless node. There's no radio in that. It's connected directly to the internet and allows you to talk to other AllStar nodes. And the last one is another yellow box node that I have. So it shows you that basically a server is a node. When you hear the word server, it's also a node. It's the same terminology. It gets confusing, but that's the way it is. And there's a lot of, you can look at the AllStar node list. There's like all thousands and thousands of nodes here. And you can search by any of these items on here, the user ID, the node number, where it's located. If you want to see where all the AllStar nodes are, you can go in there and do that. you can easily see all that. Let's see. Oh, the other thing that I wanted to mention about the portal is when you want to apply for a node number, you have to go in, I believe, to this. Let's see, where is it? I would go to help and support, okay, and in this section, when you go through some of these documents, there's a wiki, a beginner's guide, a how-to, an FAQ, and a forum. So you would go into the beginner's guide, go through that, and it would tell you how to create a node number. You know, you have to apply for a node number. It takes about a day or two, and they might not tell you that you have a node number. You have to check the list that I just showed you. If you check this list of AllStar nodes, there's a place you can go here. Let me shrink this screen a little bit. There's a box here, and you can just type in your call sign, and it'll show you whether you have a node active or not. So you can see my nodes are listed there. The ones in green are on the air right now. The ones not in green are not on the air because basically they're mobile nodes and I'm not in the car, so I don't have them active. Okay. So basically, that's the main thing that you'll need to do here is apply for a node and get a node number here and then get started from there. Okay, so this is basically the starting point, getting a node number. In the meantime, you can be getting your equipment together and getting that ready to go. So it's ready to go as soon as you have your node number. Anybody have any questions so far? You can request as many node numbers as you wish, depending on how many nodes you want to set up. There's procedures on the website that guide you through the process of registering and obtaining AllStar node number.
Do you have a block diagram of how this thing works?
I'll get to that shortly. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, let's see. Basically, AllStar is a product of the Asterisk software, which is an open source PBX project. If you're familiar with IRLP and Echolink, you know that you can connect to other nodes, repeaters, and reflectors. Reflectors in AllStar are basically called hubs, which is a collection of nodes, which could be running on repeaters or individual nodes. AllStar is much the same. It can be run on a Raspberry Pi computer, which is connected to the internet. And the Raspberry Pi is the preferred computer for AllStar. We could use a Pi 3, 3B+, 4, and now the new Pi Nano. They'll all work. And you'll need the AllStar software, which is very easy to download to a micro SD card from the Ham VoIP website. Win32 Disk Imager is another piece of software that you'll want to use to create the image once you've downloaded the executable file from Ham VoIP. And then you'll create your micro SD card from that image. So I'm going to move to the Ham VoIP website. Okay, this is the Ham VoIP website. Basically, what's here is this is called a URI, which converts the signals from digital to analog and back again. This is the Raspberry Pi. And you also need a computer, of course. I mean, a radio if you're going to use a radio node. This website is very comprehensive. It has all the information you need to set up your node. basically talks about the early stages of it. And back in the early days when BeagleBone Black computers were used to start out with this project. And since then, they've migrated to Raspberry Pis. They found them to be better and quicker, and they stopped making BeagleBone Blacks anyway, I think. So I think Raspberry Pis have seemed to work out very well. So I would peruse this section, and then down here, there's a lot of description about why AllStar and what it is and how it connects to different things. It's a pretty good summary there. There's a history about how things have migrated from the BeagleBone Black to the Raspberry Pi. It's all here. Tells you how to go and visit allstarlink.org that I mentioned earlier and register to get your node number. It's all right here, pretty straightforward. These are some websites that you can buy Raspberry Pis from. I understand some of them are in short supply at the moment, like everything else that's being imported. So that's a little bit tricky, but SD cards, basically a 16 gigabyte micro SD card will do the trick. That's all you really need for that. You download the image by going to this page, this section down here. Right here, it tells you the latest image. Okay, if you're using a Windows computer, you download this executable, and then there's instructions on what to do to convert that executable to an image to put on your micro SD card that you can put into the Raspberry Pi and use. It's fairly straightforward. So you just have to read through these instructions, and if anybody ever has questions about this, they can always contact people. There's a lot of, I'm going to go through the contact information later, but there's a lot of people that are willing to help out with this. Then there's some basic things you have to set up once you start up your first time script, when you initialize your node. A few things to set up there. And you have to also go into your router, enable your firewall for a few ports. Some key ports are 4569 is the major port that you want to open. And also, well, if you're going to use Echolink, there's a couple Echolink ports that you need to open also. So that's pretty much it on that part. Let's see. There's a lot of links and also a lot of setup instructions for different facets of AllStar. And I'd recommend you look through these to see if there's anything here that you might find interesting that you want to do. If you want to broadcast your node on Broadcastify, you can do that. If you want to be able to use telephones or cell phones to control your node, you might want to set up IAX RPT, which is now DB switch, and various other things here that we'll talk about in a little bit. If you want to run it wirelessly or on a wired network, you can do it either way. And there's instructions for that. Pretty straightforward. Talks about different types of hardware you can get, how to interface it, and there's videos, of course, for Motorola radios, but there's a lot of other YouTube videos that also describe this. There's some commercial products, and we'll talk about them in a little bit too. And so I highly recommend you check this website out. It's hamvoip.org. Pretty much how I set my first node up, and I didn't have a lot of knowledge when I did, but by asking people on the Philadelphia hub and other places, you can really get a lot of good information that way. So that's pretty much it for that site. Okay. Let's see. Oh yeah, there's various types of radios that you can use. Basically, Kenwood with mini DIN connectors, the Linko DR2, 220, and 440 are highly recommended radios for that, and various Motorola radios would also make good AllStar nodes. These things are all described in much more detail on this VoIP website. So the how-tos are very helpful in guiding you through things. Okay. In addition to the above, if you don't want to build your own node, you can purchase them from various vendors. Okay, including one that's actually made around here is Techno by George. George is WB3DZZ. He's located over in Warrington or Warminster, Pennsylvania. And George builds these nodes that look like this. It was called a yellow box node, but he ran out of yellow boxes. The manufacturer stopped making them, so now they're in this clear bluish box. And he really does a nice job. I'll show you what a yellow box node looks like shortly, but this is what he's making now. Unfortunately, he's out of stock, it looks like, at the moment. A lot of the manufacturers that are making these nodes. He also makes sound fobs for nodes if you want to get a sound fob to interface your radio to the Raspberry Pi. And the sound, you can use these sound fobs and they work very well. They're less expensive than the DMK URI. And there's a power down board that is nice because you don't have to do it. It does a soft shutdown of your Raspberry Pi for you automatically. So that's George's nodes. There's something else called a Shari node, and that's a really nice little node. Shari nodes are kind of interesting. They come in various styles and shapes. Some are dual band, some are single band, VHF or UHF. I happen to have a UHF one, which I'll show you shortly. It plugs right into a Raspberry Pi, and it's relatively inexpensive. You can buy this in kit form, and this is what the schematic of the Shari node looks like. You can buy this in kit form. It's $70, or you can buy it already made for $90. It looks like a nice kit. I did not buy the kit. I bought it already prepared, already made. But if you're a kit builder and you want to try something interesting, this is certainly a good one. A friend of mine built this and he said it was easy to do and he had fun doing it and it sounds good on the air. So that's the Shari. And that's the Raspberry Pi board that it's on. And they give you all kind of good instructions, and there's lots of information about this on various sources, which we'll also get into. So you can get these in UHF or VHF, and like I said, either assembled or kit form. The next one is Node Ventures makes a item called the Clear Node, which is really nice. That's this one here in the center. The Clear Node is a nice way to go. It's the little one next to it is a Nano, the newest one. It's much smaller. It looks like a hotspot for DMR Fusion and D-Star. But these are really nice. The nice thing about these is they incorporate DMR and Fusion. So you can actually use an analog radio to talk to folks on DMR and Fusion. So it's kind of neat. But, and there's also a phone app that you can use to control these. So that's another nice feature. Basically, all you need is a radio and this device, and you're good to go. You have to plug it into a battery or the wall, one or the other, and it'll work. And as long as you have a hotspot or a Wi-Fi connection, that's pretty much all you need to get that going. And they will even set that up for you if you give them all the particulars when you get it. Steve, I hope Steve will be able to give a few examples of his, because he has a couple of them. And we'll do that in the show and tell portion. Okay, let's see. Once you set your node up and you're ready to go, one thing that you'll have to do is make some final audio adjustments. There's usually some adjustments to make, but they're not complicated or difficult, and the instructions tell you how to do that. They're described in detail on the Ham VoIP website. And if you would like other nodes to connect to yours, like I said, you need to set up your router to accommodate the ports for that, for both AllStar and EchoLink. And once you're ready to connect to another node, a repeater, or a hub, you can do that by using DTMF tones from your handheld, or there's web interfaces called Supermon, which you can use. Either you do it in a browser, so you could do it on a computer, or you can do it on your phone, your cell phone that has a browser. And you go to a website that you have set up, you set this up. And then this is mine, for instance, and it has a list of, it gives you your nodes. It's very convenient. This is how I change this is how I change connections and shut down my nodes and do everything right here. This is how you administer your node, basically. You log in, and once you log in, you get another screen that has some commands, lots of commands up here. All these things allow you to look at your node, and you select whatever node you want to administer up here. And then you run whatever command you want to run. If you want to connect to another node, you put the other node number in here and you say connect, and it connects you to it. So right now, this is my main node. It's connected to my friend Dave in Westchester. And this is my yellow box node that I have here. It's connected to my main node, so I can monitor my main node. And I use this radio here. It's a little TID radio, nice and small, fits in your shirt pocket. So when you're walking around the house, you can monitor your node easily with that. And this node is my radioless node, has no radio on it, and it's connected to the Philadelphia hub that's administered by Doug WA3DSP. And these are my two mobile nodes. So this is a great way to control your node. There's some other ways too. And there's a phone app called Node Remote for AllStar, and it looks like this. Whoops. I don't know if you can see that, or if it's is it too bright? Or can you see that? Oh, there. Okay, so there you can just click on a node. Okay, and then it gives you like an easy way to connect to other nodes. You just click on them. And this was developed by somebody over in England, and it's a pretty handy little app for the iPhone.
It looks like EchoLink. What's the name of that?
This is called Node Remote for AllStar.
Node Remote.
Node Remote for AllStar. You can use it to administer your nodes. And
can you transmit on that, or is it only for administering the node?
Only for administering, Jeremy. Yeah, that's a good question. And as far as EchoLink goes, I don't think I mentioned that enough. When you, I guess I just didn't get to it. But in any event, for EchoLink, what you need to do is go to the echolink.org site and apply for a EchoLink-L node number. And once you get a link, it's called a link, Echo Link -L. You get that, and then you can set that up on your node also. So you'll have both AllStar and Echo Link on your node, which is what I have, and it works good. If people want to connect to me through Echo Link, they can do it. They just go to look for WA380I-L. They'll see it, they click on it, and they can be connected to me. So that works out pretty well too. Let's see. Oh, I guess maybe you didn't see. Did you see that node remote for AllStar? I didn't realize I was still sharing my page.
I think we saw it. The phone wasn't as big, but so we couldn't really see the details on screen.
Okay. Well, you can look in the App Store for iPhone or the Play Store for Google, and it'll be there. Okay. There's also DroidStar. DroidStar is a fairly new app. They've updated it recently, last month, and it works pretty good. It's a pretty amazing little app. You can use it to talk on your node. You can use it basically on your cell phone, your tablet, whatever you want to put it on. It works on all things like Android and iOS. And it works pretty good. It's neat because it allows you to work DMR, Fusion, AllStar, P25, and XDN. It's a neat little app. So look into that. That's a lot of fun. Then there's also a couple things that help you administer your node in addition to what I mentioned. Two things, Secure Shell and WinSCP. And I'll show you what they look like. And Putty. I forgot to mention Putty. Well, I did mention, yeah, Putty. Okay, here's Putty. When you get your node up and running,
I think we can't see that. You might have to change your sharing.
Oh, okay. All right. Wait a minute. Okay, here we go. Okay, can you see this?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So this is Putty. When you log into your node, this is what you get. Okay, and it's very nice because you can do an update anytime that you find out there's a new update for the software or the firmware. You just click that and run it, and it runs real easy. There's some other commands here that you can change things. You can set up your audio with simple USB tune menu. You use that to set your audio controls. You can restart the Asterisk server. You can reboot the system. You can shut it down and do all that from this Putty. I also use something called Shelly on my iPhone, and it works the same way as this. And then the other thing that's handy that I found handy is this. It's called WinSCP. Can you see this?
No, you'll have to share a separate screen for that.
Okay. Here it is. Okay, so this is nice because it, oh, let me bring this over here. Okay, you can see that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so like here, like there's a lot of files in an AllStar directory. This is what the Arch Linux looks like for AllStar. Basically runs on Arch Linux. And you can go into a lot of these. The main folders that you really look at are right here, the asterisk folder. has a lot of your main controls. This rpt.conf is an important file. Manager.conf, IAX.conf, these are all important files. And then right here, you can see Echolink conf. Can you see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so that's how you set up your Echolink. That's one page where you set up your Echolink once you get a link ID. So it's pretty handy. This is called WinSCP, and the other one is called Putty. Those are two things that come in handy for doing updates to your node. So you can link your node to many nodes or networks, but you have to be careful when you do that. You don't want to link to like the Philadelphia hub to the East Coast reflector, because the Philadelphia hub would probably have about 40 connections at least, and the East Coast reflector would probably have a couple hundred. So you really don't want to do something like that. You want to try to keep it simple. So you would connect your own node to one or the other, but you wouldn't connect the two of them together. A lot of beginners make the mistake of connecting too many things together at one time. So if you connect to one thing, make sure you disconnect before you connect to the next. And that keeps everybody happy. You don't want to get blacklisted, and that could happen. So let's see. You can also put two nodes together to make a repeater, or link an AllStar node to a repeater. We have some in the area. You mentioned the WAN system, that's one. There's WA3DSP. Doug has a 6 meter and a 220 repeater, 223.76 and 53.03. Two repeaters that have AllStar nodes. W3QV, of course, Philmont has theirs on 147.03. Paul down in Chester, KM3W, he has his on 224.700 and 444.700. And they have their scripts that you can use and run on the AllStar software to announce weather, get weather alerts from AutoSky, and play amateur radio news line, ARRL news. They can be programmed to play automatically on your node. You must see the hamvoip.org website to do some of these things. And the technology is really ideal for people in antenna restricted communities, retirement villages, anyone going mobile or camping. And after you set your first node up, you'll be surprised that it's not as hard as you thought it would be. Everybody says that. It's almost like amazing. And there's some websites that I wanted to show you. Let me just get this up. Okay. I think I have to reshare this, I guess. Okay, here's the website, allstarlink.org, hamvoip.org. Sorry about that. Groups.io. Groups.io is very helpful. There's a ham VoIP Groups.io, as well as something called Supermon, which I showed you earlier, which you use to administer your node. Supermon 2 and ham VoIP are two good Groups.io. And these are some of the other products I showed. Techno by George, Ham Projects is the Shari, and Node Ventures is the Clear Node. And there's some wide area hubs. These are pretty big. The East Coast Reflector, that's located up in New York, in Colden, which is near Rochester. The Philadelphia hub, which is administered by Doug, WA3DSP. The wind system in California, that's very extensive. Lots of different links to different types of technologies. The Sky Hub in Aurora, Colorado is a nice big one. The Illinois AllStar Network. Links to Fusion. There's a Fusion link in Florida. There's other ones in Columbus, Georgia. And the Rhode Island Digital Link System is very interesting because that's connected to pretty much anything you can think of also. So these are some interesting hubs to connect to. These are hubs that connect a lot of different nodes, repeaters, and other types of technologies together. So it's a really nice linking system.
Could you copy and paste those into the chat?
Can I? Yes,
Yeah, that way everyone will have them.
I think I can do that.
And I'll paste it into YouTube as well. That way folks will be able to just directly use those.
Okay, Jeremy. Okay. All right, I think it just went.
Yeah, thanks. That's great.
Okay. Let's see, what else? Does anybody have any questions so far?
So what do you think would be the easiest way to get started if someone doesn't want to do a lot of configuring and all of that? What's sort of the simplest off-the-shelf solution?
Well, there's two, I think, in my opinion, there's two simple ways to go. The least expensive is the Shari, which I'm going to show you. Let me show you right now while we're talking about it. This is the Shari right here. Okay. This is a Raspberry Pi. Can you see this? Or should I be off of screen sharing? I'll turn that off. Maybe this is easier. Is that easier?
Yeah, you can see it.
Okay. So this is the Raspberry Pi, and this is the Shari. It just plugs right into it. Okay. And then you have a cord, which you plug into a battery pack. This is what I use in my car, actually. You just take this little battery pack, lithium-ion pack, 20,000 milliamp pack. Just plug it in and it starts right up. No problem. And also in my car, I use this. It's a hotspot, and I use this battery pack, to 10,000 milliamp pack. And this will work for a long time. You can get a couple of days out of this and the Shari. So that's what I use in my car, and it works quite well. So that's the easiest way to do it, I would say. The other easy way to do it is what Steve can show us. Steve's got the Clear Node, and it costs a little more, but it's a really nice device. And it comes pre-configured also. And he can give you a description of that. If you want, Steve, feel free to show your Clear Node and what it can do. I talked to Steve in Hawaii on it. He sounded great. There it is.
So this is a Clear Zero on a Pi Zero version 2W. W means Wi-Fi. I have a Clear Node. I have the full-size one as well that you can see on the Node Ventures site. The difference between the two is that this one in my hand does not have an Ethernet port. It is Wi-Fi only. And I live by the rule that if something is not moving and it's connected to the network, it needs to be wired. So my Clear Node is hardwired to the house Ethernet. But this worked beautifully on multiple different networks. One of the cool things is the app on the phone, and using the flash, you can program the clear node by flashing the Wi-Fi network name and password to the clear node. And then the clear node will log on to that Wi-Fi net. And it also worked with my phone as a hotspot to provide the internet backbone. I have been actively participating in a whole series of digital tech nets all over the country on AllStar, thanks to ClearNode, even while I was in Hawaii for 7 weeks. And I can't say enough about the vendor. He's just a gem of a ham and a human being, and really supportive and helpful. And then Vince mentioned it, but this same device with a $30 Baofeng, and you can be on DMR, Fusion, NXDN, P25. The one thing you can't get on is D-Star. But it's just been an incredible tool. Thanks, Vince.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. That's great. And I would echo what Steve said about the developer of that product. Everybody I've talked to that has a clear node said the same thing. The guy is really super, even though he's out on the West Coast. You email him, you get an answer right back, right, Steve? So yeah, it's really good. So, okay, so I showed you the Shari. Steve showed you that. I'm going to show you a yellow box node. Okay, this is the original yellow box node. It's got the Raspberry Pi computer. It's got a little Baofeng UV82 in it. It's got a shutdown board and a sound fob. It's pretty straightforward. It's a nice little package. And again, I use that in the car with a hotspot and this battery pack, which I got from one of the auto supply stores. It's just a little 12,000 milliamp hour, 12 volt pack. This device runs on 12 volts, not 5, like some of the others. So you just have to plug an antenna in here to allow the UV82 to have an antenna. Can't forget to do that. This device, this second node I was running this in the car. A friend of mine put this together for me. It has the Raspberry Pi up here. And then inside, there's another Baofeng and all the other stuff. This runs on either battery or AC. I forgot to mention the yellow box node runs on battery or AC also. It's just that this one runs on 5 volts. The other one runs on 12. And if you can see this back here on my desk, this is a Yaesu FT1500M. It's a 2-meter radio that I use for my main node. There's a Raspberry Pi and a URI sound file. And that's what I use. I have it connected to a Diamond X50 in my attic. I get about a 3-mile radius. I run 10 watts. I don't run it at full power, but I do run it at about 10 watts. And if I had an outside antenna, it would be a little better coverage. So that was the first node I put together. And the last thing I was going to show you is this. Let's see, here it is. This is my radioless node. This is a speaker right here. This is the node, and this is the Raspberry Pi. And it's on wireless. It's running on wireless at the moment. I just pick up the microphone and start talking. It's connected to the Philadelphia hub. I don't know if anybody's around. We can try it and do a quick demo. QRZ, anybody around for a quick demo? This is WA3ABI. QRZ, anybody around for a quick demo? This is WA3ABI. Hi, Clint. Thank you very much for the call. WB3EHB, this is WA3ABI. And I was just demonstrating AllStar to the Mid-Atlantic Amateur Radio Club on Zoom. And thanks for coming back to our call. Might want to give a little description on what you're running there. Back to you. I'm sorry, Clint. Maybe you didn't copy me. I was saying that we're doing a demo here for the Mid-Atlantic Amateur Radio Club, and maybe you could give a little demo on what you might be running there. Appreciate the call. Back to you, WA3ABI.
Hi, first of all, good evening to everyone in the room with you. I'm right now running a VN7R on AllStar. Well, I should say going to an AllStar node. And you sound pretty good coming this way. I'm in Vineland, New Jersey, for those that need to know.
Okay, Clint, very good. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And it's good to hear from you. And thanks again, WA3ABI.
Anytime, Vince. Have a good evening. WB3EHB.
Okay, so that was Clint. He's down in Vineland, and he's got his node connected to a repeater there, a 220 repeater, actually. And I did want to show one other thing here. Let me see where it is. Okay, so if we go here, there's a thing called LS nodes, and if you click on it, these are all the nodes that are connected to where Clint is. And let's see if here's Clint's call, and it shows you his node number and his repeater 22462. And that's where Clint was. And all these stations are all nodes. And every one of them is in this location, these locations here. And this is what they're on. And it's a very handy little
Vince,
here called LS nodes. Yes.
if you go down to 5399,
There you go. There's Steve right there. K3 FZP, that's Steve, 539930. There you have it. So it's pretty nice, a nice way to look at what nodes are connected to your node. And this is my radioless node that we're looking at right now. And it does refresh. Okay. I think that's about all I have. Any other questions that I could try to answer? One thing I wanted to mention is if you do decide to do this and set up a node, the community is very helpful. There's like I said, the groups IO, there's emails, there's Facebook pages. There's so much information out there. There's a lot to learn and do, but it's pretty easy. Just have to jump in there and try it. That's what I did, and it worked out pretty well. So I hope more people find it as enjoyable as those of us that have nodes. It's a good way. I mean, even to check into like the Philmont net, if you want, you can just bring up the node if you're in a bad spot and you can't hear it regularly, like in my case on the side of the hill. I just bring up my node and talk, and it's crystal clear. The clarity of AllStar is pretty amazing. If it's not clear, the person might be on a repeater in a noisy spot, but otherwise, if it's node to node or something like that, it's very clear. So that's about it.
Is there any way to, if you like come across a frequency that's possibly being used as a node, I guess, is there any way to look that up? We as far as public service events, we've used the 147.450 frequency for quite a while until I don't know, about 2 years ago. All of a sudden, there's a lot of Spanish language radio traffic on that frequency, and it doesn't sound like it's actually a repeater. I was just wondering if that's maybe somebody put an AllStar node on there, and unfortunately they don't. They only converse in Spanish. They don't ID or anything in English or anything. So I don't know, when much about it. Is there any way to look up or is there any requirement maybe that a node would be registered, as part of the?
Unfortunately, Bob, I don't think there is. You do it when you set up your node on allstarlink.org. And some people will list the frequencies in there. Other people won't put it there, so it's hard to tell. It's not an exact science where they have to absolutely put a frequency. It would be helpful if they did. And it's just one of those things.
But I think you can say, Vince, or at least it's my observation, that the majority of nodes are very low power nodes. They're not with external antennas. The ones that are with external antennas that I've been seeing discussed was a guy in Texas who put one up with a vertical at 50 feet and with 50 watts. And he could cover thousands of acres, which was where he had his ranch. Nobody's going to be hitting my node at 438.1 with this, with this rubber duck, with that stubby antenna. You ain't going to be hearing the transmissions from this very far away.
Yeah. Now, some of those people like that Bob was referring to might be using a simplex repeater or something like that. And they might not even be on a node. They might just be a simplex repeater, but there'd be no way to know what exactly they are using. It gets a little complicated then.
Hey, Vince.
Yes, Rich.
It's Rich. So I think I've connected to your node through my node via my tablet. Do you see that I'm connected to you? You're 41820.
I'll look on here. Yep, you're there.
All right, so I can mute and we could try and do a test through my tablet, which is
Sure.
connected Wi-Fi to my node downstairs. So
Great.
give it a try and give me a call.
Okay. AA3RC, this is WA3ADI.
I heard you perfectly there. I muted my audio on my computer so we don't have any feedback, I don't think. And are you receiving me there? Nod if you are receiving me. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, we hear you fine.
Yep.
Sounds good, Rich. Perfect copy here, nice and clear. Doing a good job for your tablet.
All right, so I am using literally like the cheapest tablet known to man, a little Lenovo piece. And I have a radioless node just plugged into my Ethernet, hardwired, and set it up using everything that Vince had said before, using the ham VoIP instructions and image. And although it has been troublesome at times and I can't make it work with my iPhone yet, it works really good through my Windows PC and my Android devices. So just thought you'd like another test there, Ben. So I'm gonna sign off here and go back to the Zoom meeting.
Okay, Rich, thanks very much. And I think Steve was connected, but I think he disconnected. I don't see him connected at the moment. So very good. Okay, Rich and Steve, thank you. WA3ADI. So that pretty much sums it up. Any other questions that people have? I'll be happy to try to answer them. What do you think, Jeremy? You think you might give it a shot?
I might. I'll have to see. Yeah, the clear node sounds like kind of the interesting way to go about it. So the only difference between the clear node and the clear node 0 is whether you have wired connectivity. Other than that, they're the same.
That's the main difference. And the size, of course, the clear node is a little larger than the 0.
Yeah. Yeah, the 0 looks exactly like a Zoom spot.
It does. It does.
It's probably the same pieces that it's made out of.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's a custom hat, and he also modifies the Pi. I don't know if you can see it, but at the USB port, there are a couple of wires that you might be able to see. The clear node is made on a Raspberry Pi 3B plus, or rather 3B. So both of them are only 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi bands. Neither of them are on 5. But the Pi 3B has, of course, the Ethernet port and additional USB ports that the Pi 0 does not have. But especially if you're interested in digital voice modes and you don't want to buy a DMR or a Fusion radio, and you want to explore both of those modes, you could do this with a clear node or clear 0 and any analog HT.
How powerful are they, Steve? Do you know offhand? How many watts do they run? There's integrated radios that's in there?
It's, I have no idea. I'm sure it's less than 100 milliwatts, somewhere between 10 and 100. I hear last night on the ClearNode net, one guy ran a Clear Zero with 35 users for 14 hours with a 20,000 milliamp battery pack. It was like in constant use.
Pretty good.
All right. Any other questions for Vince?
Actually, I do have a quick one, Jeremy.
Yeah, go ahead.
Vince, so you guys seem to have all the things. Which one do you like the best, or which one do you think works best? I mean, I found it satisfying to build my own out of a Raspberry Pi and make it work. Although, again, for whatever reason, I cannot make it work with my iPhone, but I will figure it out. And the ClearNode is very cool, although many monies, 10 times what I spent to do it on myself with a radio listener. But you have all the other things, the Shari and all that stuff. What's your recommendation cost-wise? I mean, the ClearNode, if you can get one, is what, $300-400? I don't know what the other stuff costs.
The Shari, Rich, is a little less expensive. It's $90 already put together, or $70 as in kit form. So if you bought the kit, you'd only have to spend $70 for the Shari. However, you would still need to get a Raspberry Pi for it. And then you would need a battery if you're going to use it remotely, but that's minor. But the Raspberry Pi and the Shari, you're probably looking at about a total of $100 and maybe $30 for the whole thing, $140, something like that. So it's half the price of the ClearNode, but
that
it
just
doesn't
does
have the added features of being able to be used on DMR, P25, NXTN, Fusion. You lose that ability. It's just strictly an AllStar node.
right. So kind of what I already have.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. All right. That's why I was just trying to understand that, if you're not going to build your own, it would seem you might as well just splurge and get the ClearNode.
Yeah.
Just be done with it. Then you're done.
Exactly.
Got it.
I would. I mean, if I was buying something right now, I'd probably get a ClearNode.
All right. Well, you got to get in line because it says they're sold out.
Isn't everything.
All right. Thanks, Vince.
Okay, Rich.
Yeah, I'm just realizing that I've used a 223.76 repeater. That's one of the only 220 repeaters around here that has any activity on it.
Oh.
I knew it was connected to something, but I didn't place it.
There's another repeater up in Hilltown. I think it's 442.885. Does that sound familiar? The Hilltown repeater. That is connected to the AllStar network also, and that has really good coverage. So, yeah, there's a couple that are pretty good.
The wind system seems very active. I was listening. There's like a hose line online that you can listen to, and they seem to be pretty active even late into the night.
Oh yeah, those guys go on for hours. They even start their TechNet later, I think, like at 10 or 11 o'clock at night, because they're
That's
on
on the West Coast.
Yeah.
Right.
They have a great TechNet on Friday night, and Gordon West commonly sits in on that. I check into that net over AllStar. It's really very interesting, and some sophisticated, what to me seems to be sophisticated technical discussions.
Very cool. So does anyone else have any questions for Vince or any other business for the club? All right, if not, I'll thank everyone for attending, and I will bring this meeting to a close. So thank you, Vince, for a great presentation, and thanks for all who attended. Thanks for all who are watching on YouTube, and we will see you next month when Steve, K3FZT, will give a presentation on WinLink. So with that, I will say 7 3s, and I will see you next time. Take care.
Thank you.
Good night.